Will you please join me in prayer? Lord, today we're thankful for our community life and for the good weather. We pray for those who are suffering due to the destruction of their homes in the recent hurricanes and the wildfires. Our anxieties and complaints are trivial, however, compared to theirs. We pray for strength as we continue our journey of life in doing what we can do for others. In Jesus' name, amen. Welcome to our second part of our council meeting. I'm glad all of you showed up today, and thank you for all of the work that you do. I will call the meeting to order. And approval of our minutes. They were available the last August 5, I believe it was. August 5 minutes were available in the portal that we have on our resident association and also in our activities book that is down at the concierge desk. So are there any corrections? Hearing none, they stand approved. Financial report, Sally?
Okay, those of you who are here have a copy of the financial report. Those of you who are not here, it will be at the concierge desk in a yellow folder with a sticky note on the front saying, take one. There's really, it sort of encompasses everything you might want to know about the finances of the residential association. And I know you haven't had much time, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer. Or you can call me or email me with questions. I see none. I'm done.
Thank you, Sally. That report will be filed for audit. We appreciate your work. President's report is next, and as you know, I do attend the Epworth Villa board meetings for the Epworth Villa Board of Directors, and I am a non-voting member, but I enjoy listening to what is happening, and they do ask for a report from residents, too, of what's happening here. They did vote in a new board member that I think you should know about. And her name is Victoria Caldwell. She's a realtor in Edmond, and apparently has been on several boards that are of significance, including the city council, and she's had many honors for her leadership. So if you know her, please tell her thank you for serving on the board. We appreciate their service. And Kathy reported from marketing that we have had 13 sales so far this year in independent living and 3 pending, but they all haven't moved in yet, of course, because of everything that's happened. But she said that today at the To The Point meeting, she's going to have better news than that. So tune in at 2 o'clock To The Point meeting. Well, we had the part 1 of the council meeting on Monday in the ballroom at 3 o'clock, and only a few floors had reports to make. Actually, there's not much going on with the floor reps. They are still seeking ways to do socialization, and we're trying to figure out ways for them to meet. With their 10 limit, it's very difficult in their living areas. So we are still working with that. Some are meeting in different places and doing a little bit of social work, but it's very limited right now. If you have any ideas for the reps, please call your floor rep or your cottage rep. They'd be glad to hear from you. And as you know, I do send out a letter of welcome to our new residents, and recently the latest one has been Norvell Dickey, and she's moved into apartment 3210. And so watch for her badge coming down the hall and make sure we welcome her. I have not even met her yet, so I need to do the same thing. And her name is Norvell Dickey, if you'll remember that. And the executive committee, of course, has been doing all the videos. We have about 28 now on individuals, and I hope you're enjoying those on EVTV. we will continue that, and Susan is using one a week, and we're going to try to keep that up. And as you are aware, our executive committee meets with our management also during our executive committee meetings. And sometimes we have our CEO, Ron Kelly, there. Sometimes we have our COO, Lauren Cantu, and sometimes Destiny Newell, and sometimes all three of them to meet with us. And we're so honored that they will do that. Discussion yesterday at our executive committee meeting included 13 different items, many of which the residents did request. And I am not going through those 13 because Lauren is going to be on To the Point also this afternoon. And so I want you to listen in at 2 o'clock, and she's going to cover much of what we talked about. Please tune in on your EVTV 1960. I want all of you to be aware of our activities and groups meeting. This is the Resident Association notebook that we keep at the concierge desk, and it's the one with the pictures on it, so you can't miss it. Most of this book is made up of all of our activities, everything that goes on. We have a page for each activity that we know of. And I want each of you, each of the residents in independent living, to please look at this if you are involved in any activity, head of any activity, or just involved in it, because we need to keep this up to date. This information also goes into our portal, epworthvilla.org. And it's very important to keep what it has is contacts and telephone to contact. It has categories are listed. It has a meeting place, description of the activity, and the resident contact, but particularly where the meetings are change occasionally. So keep this up to date. Just write in there on the page the correct information, and please add your name so we can call you in case we have something to ask about it. We'd appreciate that very much. Past President report. Marilyn, what do you have for us? Yes, I can talk about the sign-up sheets. They are now, we think, ready to be placed in the mailboxes. This is what it looks like now, and as you can see, it's a little more detailed. We're hoping that all of our residents will prayerfully look at it and decide what they want to contribute for the next year, 2021. Check it and put it back, or it tells you what box to put it in. And this will help our committee chairs determine that they have a good committee, and we'll have it all in place. I think we vote. This will be in your box October the 1st, and we vote on. Something else. So you have 15 days, I think, to look at it and put it back in the correct box. Anything else that I need to say about that, Bill? Bill has worked on this, and we appreciate his help. Yes.
Are the standing committees that have contributed to this, are they going to be able to talk about our committee sign up, kind of explaining it in October?
I think we should. Yes, yes. The question was, can we explain it in the next meeting? Is that what you're talking about? Yes, of course. Let's put that on the agenda. Yes, absolutely. That'll be great to have the agenda. Thank you very much.
Would you
yes, Marilyn.
read the instructions for the nominating committee before I present the names? Do you have it there?
I don't have the bylaws in front of me,
Okay.
but the bylaws state, by memory, that the past president is in charge of the nominating committee for the next year, and there are very specific ways to choose these committee members on the nominating committee. They have to be by floors. And what else? Just so many by floors and something else. I can't remember.
And 2 from the cottages.
Well, of course, yes.
Yeah.
And so,
Okay,
Marilyn, the past chairman, the past president is always in charge of this. So she will be head of the committee. And she has just finished this, and she's going to announce this.
I'll announce the names, but yes, I think that we might want to, it's not a sign-up thing. We are kind of mandated to pick somebody from each floor, and I worked with the floor reps in many cases to get these people. So those 9 people, was just designated, that will be serving on the committee. Will meet 2 or 3 times in October. And that's kind of an ad hoc. That's all we will need to be meeting. And the names will be presented in November at the November meeting, and the association meeting in December then elects the officers for the next year. In 2021, we will be nominating a president-elect, a secretary, and a treasurer. So these are the folks: Joyce Gentry, Dave Hansen, Maggie Vader, Helen Taylor, Linda Lucier, Mary Moling, Marianne Holdridge, and Carol Foster. Any questions? All right. Now, you may call me with suggestions of people who you think would be good to be in one of these positions, or you may talk with the person who is on your floor or in the cottage that I have named here and make those suggestions. So there's input. We want everybody to have input. It isn't like these people are going to be the only ones who will be determining who will be elected. So any questions about that? Thank you. People who are nominated to the committee must be asked before you can submit their name. Now, if you have recommendations, then you can tell myself or one of the people on the committee, but please let them know they have not been approached to see whether they are willing, because they have to be willing and have accepted. So.
Okay, I'm going to give a little demonstration of our Epworth Residence Portal, and if you have a cell phone, you can follow along with me, or you can watch. And by the way, this slideshow is on the portal. At the very bottom of every screen, there's a little link that says slideshow. There's also one that says video tutorial. It's the same one that's running on EVT right now, so you can take a look at that. So let's just get started. So the way we get to that is you go to the main Epworth website, which is epworthvilla.org, and then you scroll down to on the very first screen, you scroll down to the very bottom, and you'll see a button called Residents. Click on that, and the next thing you'll see is Owen and Phyllis. And at the top of the screen, I've got it circled here. It's kind of small on the screen, but it says Login. And you click on that, and you'll get this nice blue screen up, and you'll put in your email address and the password that I've given to you. And if I haven't given you a password, then you need to get with me so that I can give you a password. If you've forgotten your password, there is a button at the bottom that says Forgot Password, and you can click on it, and it'll send you an email with your password. And if that doesn't work, let me know. And by the way, the email address to get to me is at the bottom of every screen. So it's an easy way to find us. Anyway, put in your email address and your password, click on the login, and at that point then you should see a screen that looks something like this, has lots of buttons on it, and then some menus across the top and some things over to the side. Let's just go through each one of these. The first item we're going to talk about is the resident directory. And you'll see that it has, at the top, it has some handy phone numbers like the front desk and the Mercy Clinic. Oh, I should change that. It's no longer Mercy Clinic, but it's the same number anyway, and Dr. Ford's email address. Anyway, so the rest of them are our residents of independent living in alphabetical order, has their apartment number, their last and first name, their home phone, their cell phone, and their email address. And then you'll see that some of the last names have an underline. And if that's the case, then you can click on that last name. It will take you to their biography that we have on file. It's the same one that we have in the library, except in color. Or let's see, no, it's in color in the library. Anyway, except it's on your screen. You don't have to go down to the library to look at it. And then you can read that. To get back, you can either use the back arrow key on your keyboard, or you can see there's a home button on every screen. You can, anytime that you're on the website, you can click home and it'll take you back to the main screen. So let's do that. Takes us back to the home screen. If you click the back arrow, it'll just take you back to the resident directory, the list of residents, and you can go back through. Oh, I do want to mention that not every last name has an underline, and that's because of one of three things. One is we don't have their biography yet. Now, we have almost everybody's biography, so that's typically not the case unless they're a brand new resident. Number two is they have not given me their permission to display their biography, and I have to have their permission. We can't just default to say everybody's biography is available. So, if you see your name without an underline, or one of your neighbors' names without an underline, that's the time to find out if it's okay for us to display their biography on here. And if so, let me know, and I'll add the underline to their name. Then the third category is they have declined to show their biography. And there's a few that have, so we have to keep that in mind. Any questions so far? Wow, you're a great audience. All right. Okay. So let's go on to the next thing, staff directory. This is the same thing that you get on paper, except it's right there on your cell phone anytime that you need it. And by the way, this and also on the resident directory, anytime you see an email address, you can click on that and it'll bring up your email program with their name, their email address already in there. You don't have to type it in again. Same thing with a phone number. If you click on the phone number on most smartphones, it will then pop up a thing that says, do you want to call this person? And then you just click the call button and off it goes. So you don't have to even write down their phone number. Let's go on to the next thing, EVTV Online. This is the same thing we see on channel 1960, except it's in slideshow format. And so you can control how fast the slides go by, and you can back up, and I believe there's even a auto advance, like most slideshow programs, where it will act like 1960 and it'll automatically advance, or you can control it. There's arrows on both the left and right side. I don't know if you can you see those little bitty arrow diagram things on both sides of the screen? Anyway, that's how you go through that. Now, it only shows you the slides on EVTV. It doesn't show you the videos that we see on 1960. So keep that in mind. The next thing is dining. That's an important thing for all of us, isn't it? So here is a fairly current, it is the current dining instructions, so you can keep track of what's going on there. We try to keep this up to date as much as possible. Next is activities and groups. Now, it's the same as the binder that Alina was showing you. That's where it went. Oh, it's under here. Anyway, so we have all the activities and groups that are in the binder, except they're here online, and you can click on the event name or the activity name, and again, it will take you to the details of that particular activity. So here's an area that I could use your help with. Just in the same way that Alina asked you to go through the binder and make sure that it's correct in the binder for your group or activity, I'd appreciate it if you could check the website also. And if you see any additions that need to be made or any corrections, you can either write them in the binder that's on the concierge desk, or you can email me and I'll make the changes on here. So, by the way, the activities groups are listed by, I think it's 5 categories: activities, community events, wellness, religious life, and dining. So the next is special events. This was more true before the virus came in. You remember when we came into this meeting each month, Susan would hand us a piece of paper with all the activities for special activities for a month. Well, that's what this will represent. So once we're back in that mode, you'll be able to see the month activities. For now, this is just a placeholder to show you what it will look like once we're back up and running. Happenings. So you get your happenings in your inbox on paper. You can also get it in color right on your screen from right here. So just click the button. The next thing, request forms. So we have a few request forms. In this case, a maintenance request, a food service comment card, and so on. So over time, we might see more and more request forms show up in here. So you can use these as needed. Next is the resident handbook. Resident handbook's actually 90 pages long. And so, yeah. So the first 8 pages is just the table of contents. And you can look through the table of contents to find the section you want and then scroll down to the section you want. Another way to use this is on your browser. You can do Control F. It'll bring up a find window, and you can type in, for instance, if you want to look up all information about the bank, you can just type in the word bank, and it'll automatically scroll down and show you the information about the bank that's in the resident handbook. Let's see. Resident association. So that's what we are, and this explains the difference between the Resident Association Council and the Resident Association. It has the minutes of our meetings, the finance reports, the various leaders of the activities, and contact information. And helpful info. So anytime we think of something that might be of help to residents that doesn't really fall into the other categories, we put it here. As an example, tornado instructions. Not so much right now, but in the springtime, that's a handy thing to know. It's the same thing that's in the resident handbook, but it's right here. Plus, it has the recommended contents of your go bag that everybody should have. We also have the history of Epworth Villa. So if one of our new residents is curious about the history of Epworth, they can find the documents right here. Then the last thing is the special announcements. We have things like the birthdays, other special announcements that are in this section, so you can keep up with that. And that is it for the resident portal. So any questions you have?
What about the interviews? Are they on the portal?
It's that same, right next to the birthdays. I've got a link to where all the interviews are. Okay. Good question. Okay, now, if I can get this to work, the next thing I want to talk about, we're going to change subjects here for a second. Slideshow. Slideshow. Yes, okay. So this is our newest project. We're getting ready to get started at the first of the year. We're calling it Thanks for the Memories. So the concept here is that participants, and we hope lots of people will sign up to participate, once a week, they'll get a question. Now that question will come in either on their email, if they use email. If they don't use email, they'll be on paper that comes into their inbox. And a question, as an example, one of the questions for a week might be, tell us about your childhood. And if you're participating, you'll fill that out. If you're on email, you'll fill it out on the screen. If you're get it on paper, you'll write it out on paper and turn it back in. And then that goes into a committee that will then process that. Then at the end of the 52 weeks of the year, then we will have collected all your answers to the questions. And we may video some of your answers. We may print a book, if you wish. You get to pay for the book, but we'll put it together for you. Or if you'd rather have an electronic form, we can do that on a DVD or flash drive. We could put it on the residence portal under your biography. You could have a link to it there. We may share some of the answers to the Historical Society. So this is the concept, and we're going to have a committee that really works out what all this program will entail. They will decide what questions will be presented each week. They will work on collecting the answers. If they need to type in the answers, they'll do that. They will work on putting everything together at the end of the year. Any videos, publishing the book, collecting money if you want to have a book published. So things like that. So one, we hope that you will participate in this program. And two, if you're interested in being on the committee that makes this happen, we'd love to have your name today and or any time between now and the end of the year. Hopefully sooner, because we'll probably get started very soon on getting this organized so we can get this going. So any questions about this?
Would you be limiting the number on that committee?
That's a good question. I think Alina is probably going to help us make sure that the committee is the optimum size. Shall I say that?
The answer is yes. Bill, what are the costs of the book? So at the end of the year, you will print the book.
I don't know yet. I'm going to estimate if we do a fairly simple loose leaf binder and we print all the pages and put it in the binder and maybe a cover sheet, maybe $25, something like that. If you have it bound, it's probably going to be more, maybe $50. These are just estimates. I don't know for sure.
I can tell you what mine story word was. Of course, doing that, I have one free book. The others cost $39. Valid.
Yeah. So in that neighborhood, yeah.
And you do all the work.
I don't personally. The committee is going to facilitate putting the things together into a form we can send to a printer, Kinko's or Office Depot, or, if it's in the case of a bound book, some company that can do that. And but the committee will be responsible for making sure that all of your questions go into your book and we don't miss anything. Or yes.
I think if we, and I volunteered to be on the committee, but I think if the committee decides to go publish, we probably will be looking for a publisher early on to see what kind of deal they would give us.
The amount of people, like 100 people or 50 people or
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, you're an easy crowd. Thank you so much. We hope that you'll sign up and participate.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, please call me if you are interested in participating in this organizational committee. It is an organizational committee right now to determine the process, and then we'll go into the actual process. Management-led advisory groups, and we're very pleased to have Ken Bullock here today. Ken, would you come up? The Employee Scholarship Fund, and you can kind of explain it too. The new portion.
Good morning. I will, but I have a story with that. So every time I see somebody coming down the hall with a black and orange mask, I think it's the Baltimore Orioles. And it never turns out to be the Orioles. It's always OSU. So my one birthday request was a Baltimore Orioles mask, which I have, and it might be the only one in Oklahoma. So now we're good. The scholarship committee, when we met, we decided to what I call rebalance the fund, and 25% of the fund right now is available for current scholarships, and 75% is for future growth. Going forward with contributions, 10% of them will go to the Future Growth Fund, and then the 90% will be available for scholarships. And all interest and gains on the fund will go to the growth portion of the fund. I'm looking forward to having a meeting in November of the committee so we can work out our schedule for the year coming forward, 2021. And that's about all I have on the scholarship committee for today. The Financial Advisory Committee, I'm looking to start our meetings up again in October. I'd like to have a quarterly meeting for the residents and on EVTV sometime in September. My schedule's a little tight with the budget, but I'm looking to schedule that towards the end of September. Today I'm going to put in our Paycheck Protection Program forgiveness application, and we believe that the entire $2,048,000 we received will be forgiven. Just to give you an idea of what we've received from the government in the COVID crisis, we've received a total of $3,011,072 in grants that we believe all of those will be forgiven. We've also taken a $1.5 million billing advance on Medicare, and we haven't used that money. I've just kind of socked that away in case we need it, and they're going to actually start taking it back in, I think, October. But that money's there in case we need it. Our days cash on hand in July was 125.2, which is pretty good. Our debt service coverage ratio is 0.95, and it has to be 1.2 at year end. When we booked the economic benefit of the Paycheck Protection Program, we're actually at 1.4, and I was waiting till the application went in to do that. So we should be fine. Ron and I and several members of the board had a call with our bond investors yesterday, and everything went great. There were no questions, and it's a tense minute or two until they say the meeting stops, but everything went fine, and they seem to be happy with how we're managing the crisis. Does anyone have any questions?
I have two questions. How are you going to determine what residents sit on your committees, scholarship and finance? How do you want to do that?
I'm up to what you guys want to do.
Well, are you wanting to have a limit on the number? Because, you know, when we have the sign up, then you can pick from that committee.
You know, I think 10 to 12 would be good. 10 to 12 people on the committees would be good.
Okay.
I'd like to
I
pick.
think probably when people sign up for those committees, then we'll just give you the list and you can take the first 10 or 12 or.
Yeah, and probably.
Because I think you're probably acquainted enough with some of the residents to know who would fit. Or you can go read their biographies and find out, you know, what backgrounds they have.
One key thing for me is I like people that agree with me. Just kidding, everybody.
Yeah. Me too. My second question is, I want you please to remember how much we love you when you go to set the budget for what our rent will be for the year 2021.
Yes, and I feel that love increasing as October rolls around every year. Ms. Waymeyer?
Kid, in regard to the membership and the bylaws for 2015 for the residents, and that it's in with the Resident Association, had a plan for 3 different classes to serve 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years. There would be 9 people, and that seems like a fairly good place to start.
Okay. I'm open to however you all want to structure that and the number of people that we want on the committee. One other thing I'd like to talk about is I'm going to be getting a quote from Cox this week on IT or on Wi-Fi for the building. So I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to get that going soon, because we've had issues with Wi-Fi since quite a few years. And it would be in everybody's apartment, and it should function fairly well. And I think that's all I have today. Sure.
Please use the mic if you're asking a question. Who has a question? Marilyn, would you turn that on? And
It's on. No, I don't have a question.
excuse me. Well, we're down to general services now, which is also a management-led advisory group, and Lauren is here. You want to come up, Lauren?
Okay, if I would have known that Ken was going to wear his Orioles mask, he never tells me these things, I would have worn my Cornhusker mask. Because many of you have seen that, and it is football season. So let's talk a little bit about general services, because I think some folks know what general services is, and some folks don't know what general services is. This is a pretty dynamic committee, just because folks seem to have knowledge in all kinds of parts of general services. At this committee, we talk about housekeeping, floor care, laundry, maintenance, grounds, safety. So it's kind of a diverse committee. And so we've got great members of that committee. They have good ideas. They come forth with good questions. And so we just do a lot of problem solving in the General Services Committee. So this last month, we met in the month of August. We hadn't met since essentially the month of March. So the committee members were kind of anxious to meet and talk about some things that they had heard. And so we talked a lot about the lightning event, kind of the damage that was caused by the first lightning event that happened on the 21st. Well, as you all know, yesterday we got hit again. And it took out, once again, our spectronic system and our notifier that affects IL North and IL South pull cords. So the interesting thing is on those last panels we put surge protectors, but there was so much electricity that came through with that hit that it blew out the surge protector. So we talked about the lightning event. This committee is always involved in tornadoes, fire, those type of things, updating what information we're putting out to residents. So some of the things we talked about is landscaping. We're in the process of changing our landscaping contractor. We'll talk more about that today at To The Point meeting. So we discussed the decisions going into that change. We announced any new teammates at the committee meeting. As I said, we talked about the lightning event. We talked about the budget process and what's going up for capital this year into the budget process for board approval or board consideration. One of those items was the Independent East elevator will be going up for consideration for capital improvements this year. Let's see, we talked a little bit about phase one. What's happening, what that means in health services and assisted living, because you hear phase one and you may not know what that means, but that has to do with the number of positive COVID cases in Oklahoma County, which is where we reside. Because we are a big county and because there are a lot of positives, it keeps our health services in phase one. Phase one means that there's no visitation allowed in health services. Health services and assisted living are under the same licensure. So that involves also our assisted living. So that's why we continue to have the no visitation down in those spaces, because of the phase one limitation by the Oklahoma State Department of Health. So we talked a little bit about what that means and what's happening in those areas. And then we talked a little bit about COVID testing, because there are some new regulations coming out. I think you've seen in the news for the healthcare area, and how often teammates will have to be tested in that area, and how often residents will have to be tested in that area. The only good news about that is that there is a saliva test now that is a rapid test. We have received the machine, and we've received the testing supplies. We are trying to figure out how to use it at this point in time, because it looks like a glucose meter is what it looks like, but it's a little bit more complex than that. The other thing about that is that once we go through those initial testing supplies, we are responsible for the cost of that. after that point in time. So let's say that we will be in a situation where we're testing teammates and residents on a weekly basis. We're talking about health services and assisted living here. You can imagine how fast we go through the supplies for that type of a testing opportunity. The other thing is the saliva test has a 15% of a false negative. So there's some discussion right now about what that means. Do you have to do 2 tests? Do you have to do a saliva test then a nasal swab test, which would be more fun than any of us could tolerate at one sitting? So there's lots of discussion right now about the testing component in our higher levels of care. But it is a regulatory thing, so there's not choice in it. It's understanding what we need to do to comply. So that's what happened this last month. So lots of discussion goes on at that committee, and lots of great people with good ideas come to discuss what's happening across the community. So any questions for general services? Yes.
Again, how are people going to be selected for that committee? Are they going to be, they've been appointed by Floor before, but now are they on, is that general services on the sign-up sheet? Yeah, okay. So people will be signing up for that. And will you then determine who sits on that committee from the people who sign up?
Well, this last time around, when you did the sign-up, it was just a sign-up at that time. So everybody who signed up at that time participated in the committee. So what I would say, unless there's an excessive, it is a fabulous committee, so unless there's an excessive number of folks, we'll probably look at just who signs up, and if it gets too large, then we will select from that particular grouping. But last time I think we did people sign up. We do have some committee members that tend to come back each and every year.
Well, and that's another question. I think, should there be term limitations?
Yeah.
I mean, I do think after people have served 5 or 6 years, if there are other people who want to get on that committee, that they should get.
And that's probably how we do it. Let's say we had 6 extra people who signed up for the committee. We would probably go back, and the longest term folks would come off, and the new folks would come on. So one nice thing about the committee is it's a constructive committee. And what I mean by that is it's an exchange of information and ideas. And, it's always coming up with a solution. And so it's a good committee. Somebody told me she's here today. So the question was an update on Monica, and I said, I've been told that she is here today. I know that she was ill on Monday, but I have heard that she's here today. So. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lauren. Isn't it great to be able to work with management like we do? I think it's fantastic. Standing committee reports. Our first committee is the activities, and I believe Sandra Brothers. Yeah.
I'm just going to briefly mention some of the activities that will be coming up this month. It'll be announced on paper, but one of the things I think you don't want to miss is going to be September 14 for the National Cream-Filled Donut Day. So put that on the calendar if you want to gain a little weight. But anyway, on September 18, Lorelei Barton and Derry Carlstone are going to be playing in the Grand Ballroom. Derry plays the oboe, so that might be something that you want to remember. And then the art show, and I think Sonia will talk about the art show that's coming up. And then on September 29, there's going to be a spelling bee for Alzheimer's. So Susan wasn't real sure exactly how many people might sign up for the spelling bee. So you'll get more information on that. So those are some of the highlights. And do we have reports then from some of the groups? The right group? Do we have a report? You'll say a word. Step right up.
Well, after all these high-powered reports today and the extraordinary leadership of Alina, I'm going to be brief. I hadn't planned to be brief, but I'll show you I can be brief. One of the things I was going to ask the people about was to help me do a little research on the history of our right group. I talked to Virginia Hoppus, who is by far the veteran member of our group. She cannot come to our meetings now because of the COVID restrictions, but she gave me 2 books, and I'd be glad for any of you to look these books over when you talk about the history of the right group. There are some very good writings in there about some of these people's experiences, and it's worth reading, and we even have pictures. And so if you're interested, I've got these 2 books here, and you can look them over, but I need to keep them in my possession because I consider them to be on loan from Virginia. The right group took a little hiatus, I guess, for 3 months, but we started meeting again in June, and we have had, I would say, a fresh spirit, really, this summer. And we've got 3 or 4 new members, and that makes a nice change in dynamics. And so it's, I hope that, I want to be an evangelist for the right group, but we have to keep the right group kind of restricted in terms of how many people can participate. And but if you're interested, anyone who's interested, I wish you would talk to me. It's not an elite organization, and you don't have to take to be interviewed when you become a part of it. And we don't call ourselves members. That's kind of formal sounding, but we have participants. So if you'd like to participate, or if you would like to just come and sit in and see what we do. Anybody who's listening this morning, I'd be glad to talk to you. Just give me a call. But I really have enjoyed being a part of the right group, and it's just a wonderful experience, not only in terms of writing, but in terms of the relationships that we have with each other.
Thank you, Burl. The other activities, inquiring minds, movies, quilters, and women's coffee. Those groups are not yet functioning, but you may get some additional information in happenings. And I think that pretty much is going to take care of what we have at this point. The activity committee has not yet started meeting. Thank you.
Marilyn, use the mic like this, please.
The Kentucky Derby is this Saturday, right? Oh, well, there's a sign-up sheet in Count Me In book, and I think people are supposed to sign up for that. Kentucky Derby party. I believe it's outside.
That is correct. It's
Saturday.
Saturday afternoon, isn't it?
Yes.
3 o'clock, I'm not real sure. You're going to have to check on that, but there is a sign-up sheet, and already 50 are signed up, so it's outside, but it's going to be a very popular event. So check the sign-in book. Next on our agenda is the Standing Committee of Food, and Lee Baxter is our chairman, but he is home recuperating from a back surgery. And so, Sandy, do you have a message for that committee?
Yeah, I will make Lee's
Max Goff.
report. Hi, I'm Sally, by the way. The survey portion, ad hoc committee of the food committee will be meeting soon for the next survey, which we promised you would come out in September. It may. We're kind of waiting for the current dining opportunities to settle down a little bit and hit their stride. And then there will be a survey probably in September, and that's pretty much our report for now. We haven't been meeting. So that's it. Any questions? Thanks.
And if you'll give the mic to Elise. The library committee is another standing committee, and I don't know if the camera can go that far to get you in, but you don't need to be on the camera, or if you'll take your mask off, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, we're happy to report we've received close to 30 new books for your reading pleasure. They'll be processed, and ready for you to check out. Also, the Metropolitan Library has changed out all their books, as well as their audios, videos, and computer discs. They are ready to check out now. And I notice people have been flocking in to get them, so there may not be any left right now. We want to thank you all. We continually check to be sure all books are in order, and thank you for helping us take care of them and keep track of them.
Thank you, Elise. And if you haven't used the library, you should. It has a wonderful collection. Next on the agenda is Religious Life with Wilma. And
Good morning. The Religious Life Committee is meeting now on a regular basis from now till the end of the month. I realize there's not a whole lot of months left, but we're meeting with a reduced amount of committee members. So 3 at a time from the large committee are being asked, and then we have the chaplain, myself, and the secretary. So there's a total of 6 that are meeting each month. And we just started that this month, so we don't have a whole lot of months left. Our September Vesper host is our Associate Chaplain, Dwight Magnus. Dwight has an interesting ecumenical group lined up. We have Baptist, Jewish, and Methodist speakers, and we do focus and want to have more ecumenical speakers, and I think with our new reorganization next year that can happen easier than it's been able to with our past organization. But this Thursday, Dr. Ryan Redwin, who is the senior pastor at Village Baptist, Oklahoma City, will be our speaker. Now look for weekly details in the messenger, the happenings, the EVTV slides, and communication board. So there's lots of information out there weekly for you to see what's going on, and that as well as our Sunday school. I hardly ever say anything about Sunday school, but I just feel I need to today. I just am bursting with pride we have such wonderful, wonderful teachers. And the exciting thing is that they are so excited about teaching, and it comes through. They put a lot of time in. They're well qualified. We have Burl and Joanne each have a week. We have 5 of them, and Burl and Joanne each have a week. So that's our in-house teachers. And then we have Tracy Wilson, who is a Methodist, but he has a background of Disciples of Christ, couldn't come up with it. We have John Trent, who is a Methodist with a Baptist background. And then we have, who's the other one? Dr. West with a Nazarene background. And they all try to stay ecumenical. But it's just a wonderful way to start your Sunday. It starts at 9 o'clock. Frida comes at 8:30 and with all kinds of passion plays for 30 minutes Not all of that's on EVTV, but a good portion, at least 10 minutes of that. So it's just a great way to start your Sunday. So just wanted to highlight that. And so proud. And Marcia also is very proud of our teachers. As you know, Brill Chapel is set up since COVID, and we can't meet all together. It is set up for come and go personal worship 24/7. There are times when it's closed for practice sessions. Ginger is now getting together a chime choir, so to speak, and they practice, I think, on Wednesdays. So there are times when it's closed briefly, and there's a sign out front that says that it's closed briefly. So we are continuing with that for the present time. We are doing weekly changes of the worship and welcome table in Brill Chapel. That kind of keeps interest going. There's a picture of it every week in the Messenger. And I love the way that Marcia has been inviting different residents to write little articles about their appreciation of Brill Chapel, a little bit of testimony. So be sure and read Messenger each week. The theme, the right now, this has evolved, that worship table feature has evolved since we started, but right now we are using the theme of what the Vesper speaker of that week is going to be talking about. We're posting the scripture and trying to decorate items of interest. So appreciative of all of the residents that contribute to that table. I would not even begin to list or name those that have contributed to objects, to scarves. I've got 3 bags in my spare bedroom that has different names on them of different scarves, so I do not get all of that confused. Tablecloths, objects, and people are still coming up to me and saying, hey, if you ever need it, I have this. So we have a good supply. And then because we have also got permission, we've spent about $400 on candles and things that were borrowed that now that we are replacing and have our own. And that includes some tablecloths. And just briefly, a little bit about the chaplain, which is the chaplain plans and recommendations that they present to the Religious Life Committee, and then if funding is needed, then we approve those things. So what I'm going to mention that they're working on is some of those, most of them as a matter of fact, are pending the funding. And of course the funding is based on how much is in our kitty. So we appreciate so much those that are contributing on a regular basis. We have lots of plans, so if you're interested, we'll take big amounts, little amounts, $1 a week, $5 a week, a big check, whatever. And if you want to contribute to the ongoingness and the upgrades that are needed in the chapel, talk to our chaplain. She'll be happy to fill you in. Almost through. We decided that we're going to move forward with World Communion Sunday. That's October the 4th. So you'll be hearing more about that. It's going to be an evening service on Sunday. There'll be a speaker and virtual communion. This is exciting too. Research has been done and on how we can provide inspiring background music in the chapel that will be played throughout the day. And it's an improvement on what we started with, which was CDs, and having to go change those all the time was just about more than anybody could manage. So we're going to evolve into something like when you hear in the lobby in the evenings, they play the music, there's a speaker. It's a streaming service for appropriate music for the chapel. It'll be through a wireless Wi-Fi speaker. That is ready to go. We just need approval from the Religious Life Committee to fund whatever that's going to cost. And she's working on the final dollar. I brought a show and tell. For new residents, the chaplains have put together a colorful bag. It says "Amazing Love," John 3:16, and in it is also a welcome letter. And this is taken to the new resident to introduce themselves, the chaplains. And it's got a welcome letter, tells about Brill Chapel, and it's got little mementos in it that I won't take the time to talk about. But it's a nice touch. The memorial committee, and that's the two ladies that post when we have deaths. They take care of that memorial table and the chaplain. Well, their duties have been expanded to expanded service to include handwritten birthday cards to independent living residents. You may have received some already. I don't know how long they've been doing it, but they have started doing that. And other special events as needed. One last thing, Christmas season planning programs are under the way. It's not just Hobby Lobby and Michael's that are getting Christmas decorations out. We're not getting decorations out, but there's a lot of plans, and they have to start early with that. Any questions? Okay.
One busy committee. They are very active. Next is wellness. Is there anybody to talk about the wellness committee? Thank you, Bill. Take your mask off, please.
Linda left me quite a long report, and I haven't even looked at it.
Okay, Nancy, would you look at it, and maybe that would help out. And Nancy, come to the middle so we can get you on view. We are being videoed.
It was a short meeting, but we discussed a lot of things. And I'll just briefly read these. The following items were discussed: the barcode check-in system. We've left that tabled because the program that was on the computer that Blaine used was erased when Blaine left, and Lori has tried to find out how to get hooked back up with that, and our question was, why are we really using that, and is the expense necessary? So that's been tabled until we can consult with somebody. There's new equipment. There are 8 new bicycles, and Lori explained those. They're not set up yet, but there will be a class for that. She's going probably to expand the flex and stretch classes, which meet up here, and have one at 9 and another one immediately at 9:30, because there's a limit of 25, and we've had wonderful attendance at flex and stretch. It's good to see a lot of the new residents come out for that. Yes. And line dancing will be moved to the Woodworth room, or has been moved to the Woodworth room.
And the question was to sign up. Yes, you have to sign up.
You have to sign up for those. We had many questions about the swimming pool, and communication was sent to Lauren about that. And after the meeting was over, Linda did receive a response from Lauren, but I can't say that anything has been done yet. It's going to be taken up with the budget when they get to that. We want people to sign up to be on the Wellness Committee next year. Think about that. I've been on it for so long, I'm giving it up.
Oh.
So I'll be happy to give the secretary's book to somebody. And I think that's about all that we
Thank you,
covered.
Nancy. You've been a wonderful secretary to that group for a long time, so we appreciate your help. Now we're into our interest groups, and we have a lot of interest groups, but these are the ones who will be hopefully giving reports today. Children's Holiday Gift. Yes, Sandra.
We'll be meeting on Friday to kind of move forward on our plan. I think most of you are aware the Children's Christmas Party will not have children here. The parent, the employee, will sign the child up, and we will have a list of children who will then have a Christmas bag that the employee will pick up whenever they come in to pick up their gratuity. One of the things that we are planning is Nancy has been working on finding appropriate hardcover, really nice books. And so each child will get a very nice book that's age appropriate. And so that's going to be kind of the more significant part of the Christmas bag. And then, of course, there'll be things for them to eat and enjoy. So that's the direction that we're taking for the children this year. We're sorry that it's not going to be a party, but we'll hope that next year we'll get back to our regular format. Thank you.
And thank you. Holiday Gift Committee, Franz, do you have a report? I'm sure you do.
The Holiday Gift Committee is meeting for the second time this year in this week. Due to the COVID-19, we were not allowed to have meetings. But that didn't mean that nothing happened. For in the meantime, we had the first and the second quarter envelopes distributed. And as I mentioned the last time, so far we collected about $40,000. At the meeting this week, the major point will be to make a decision on whether we will distribute the gifts as cash or as checks. And if we go with checks, that will have quite some effect on the handing out of the envelopes, the stuffing and the handing out of the envelopes. This week we will also have the third quarterly envelope, and this time it doesn't only go to the assisted living residents, but also to it doesn't only go to the independent living residents, but also to assisted living and households 3 and 4. In order to promote the envelope, we have an EVTV slide on, and also articles in the happenings. And the articles in the happenings are really about employees who go above and beyond their call of duty. And what we as a committee are hoping for is that also the gifts we collect this year will go above and beyond the stated goal of 85,000. Thank you.
And thank you, Franz. Next is the art group. Doris?
The art group meets on Tuesdays at 2:30, and we have about 5 or 6 people that come every week, and that just fits our room perfect with distancing. But the greatest thing about the art group is we have our own room, which we call the art corner. And if you stand at the front desk and you look up, you'll see a room that the windows meet into a corner, and that's our room. And we have a wall of storage cabinets, which has meant so much to the new residents moving in, because art supplies don't always fit in apartments. And we have large tables, which you can come in at any time, and if you have a project that you need to spread out and work on, you can come in. So it's just a nice gathering. And this month, I want to thank Sandra Brothers because she donated her art books. They're by well-known current artists. And I call it, it's not just a random books. It's really a library of how-to, And she also donated coloring books, and they're pictures of dogs and cats and horses, which you don't normally get. So they're out on the tables. Anybody can come in. People that color tell me it's very soothing and meditative. So everybody's welcome.
Thank you, Doris. Next is our resident garden, Don. No report. Okay. Not much growing now, huh? Market? Is Cliff here? No? No report from Market. Okay. And the art show, Sonia, you have something to say?
Yeah, the art show I'm very excited that we can have the art show this year. And we got our permission. It will be safe and distant and everything. In the previous years, it was held in May, but of course, due to the COVID, we have it now in September. And it will be the third week in September. Starting with the 21st, we will set up on the 21st. That's on a Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, we will have everyone can come in. It's easy accessible with the elevator because it will be over the cafe in the old situation. And then on Friday, we will take it back. So it is we start at the 21st on Monday, setting up, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, it's open for everyone. They can visit us. We have to wear our mask, of course, and there will be people around. I have a lot of volunteers who want to be there almost every day from 9 in the morning. We open up until the afternoon. That we make sure we have distance and there will not be many people all the time, but that we keep distance. Keep that in mind. We have to be safe. And it will be a wonderful show. We have many new residents also who are exposed their creations, so that's exciting. We will have new art and paintings in every medium we can think of. We have now photography, so that's really new, and I hope you all will come over there and look around. Thank you so much. Oh, there will be next week in the newsletter an ad that reminds you of everything, and it will, I believe, also be on EVTV, so you can see that. Thank you so much.
Well, our groups are coming alive again. This has been a long 5 months, and I'm delighted to hear all of you that are getting active again. Thank you so much for your help. Are there other interest groups that we may have missed that were smaller or not here? Okay. Our next meeting is Wednesday, October the 7th at 10 a.m. This meeting is this is a video, and we will be showing it on our EVTV several times in the next few days. So if you want to come to another meeting, do. And we invite everybody who is in Epworth Villa to enjoy. Thank you very much for joining us.